when it was all said and done.
We have seen a brand new way of looking at and thinking about this electoral map.
What was solid blue for a generation.
This is a white working class path to the presidency.
Turned red overnight.
We won Michigan, Pennsylvania, and we won Wisconsin.
And though Hillary Clinton won the national popular vote by more than 2.5 million people, in the end, just 80,000 votes across 3 states was enough for Trump. Tonight, we return to the state that put the Republican over the top, with the senator who won Wisconsin in the primary looking for answers.
There are a lot of people out of desperation saying, I'm hurting, I'm in pain, I am worried about my kids. This guy says he's going to do something for me. I'm going to give him a shot.
This is All in America. Bernie Sanders in Trump country.
Good evening from the UAW Local 72 in Kenosha, Wisconsin. I'm Chris Hayes. We're calling it Trump country. Do you folks think this is Trump country? That may be true in this crowd, but for the first time since 1984, Wisconsin voted for a Republican for president. And in many ways, the story of Wisconsin is the story of 2016, the state flipping to Trump after voting for President Obama twice. After Election Day, Trump's Wisconsin margin stood at just 22,617 votes, about a quarter of the capacity of Lambeau Field, where the Packers play. We're here in Kenosha County, which in many ways is the story of Wisconsin. This county hasn't voted for a Republican for president since 1972. But according to the statewide recount initiated by Green Party candidate Jill Stein, now complete in Kenosha, Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton here by just 237 votes. There are more people than that right here in this room. We've got Trump voters in the audience tonight. We've got Clinton voters. We've got people who didn't even vote. We're here to have a frank and open conversation about what happened in this election, where we are as a country, and where we go from here. Now, Donald Trump is not the only candidate who beat Hillary Clinton in Wisconsin. We also have with us Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, who says we could all stand to do more listening in communities like this. Please join me in welcoming Senator Sanders. Have a seat.
Thank you.
All right, we are back here in Kenosha, and as I said before, Kenosha County went for Donald Trump in the presidential election by 237 votes, less than the amount of people in this room. We're going to introduce you now to some folks who voted for Donald Trump. I want to introduce you to Richard Beiser, who backed Barack Obama in 2008, voted for Democrats' down ticket. Jamie Sabena, she's a divorced mom of 2. She's holding down multiple jobs. She believes that Trump will bring back jobs. Her son backed Bernie Sanders. We have with us Gail Sparks, who is an electronic technician. Her husband is unemployed due to disability, didn't vote in 2012, felt it was important to come out and vote in this election for Donald Trump. Matt Augustine, who's a longtime union man and longtime Republican who voted for Donald Trump. And Richard, you voted for Bernie Sanders in the primary here in Wisconsin. You voted for... you voted for Donald Trump in the primary, but you said you voted down ticket for Democrats on Election Day.
Yes, I did.
And you're generally a Democratic voter.
Yes, I am.
But this time you voted for Trump. Why'd you vote for Donald Trump?
Basically because he wasn't Hillary.
Have people heard that a lot among people they've talked to?
Yes.
Yep. Would you have supported Senator Sanders if he was the nominee?
Yes, I would have.
What do you think of that, Senator Sanders?
Well, I appreciate it.
That's not
But, Chris, as you know, we won Kenosha pretty handily, and we won the state of Wisconsin in the primary. And I think the message that we brought forth is that it is time to create an economy that works for all of us and not just the 1%. It's time to support organized labor and make it easier for workers to get into unions. It is time, and I'd like to raise this issue, maybe we can get into it in a moment. We are the only major country on earth that doesn't guarantee health care to all people as a right. How many people think we should move in that direction?
Let me ask you folks up there, Jamie, is that when you think about your voting, Senator Sanders talking about guaranteeing health care, is that something as a right? Is that the sort of thing that you're interested in?
Okay, that's great, but how are we going to pay for that? And how is it? Right now, if you try to go online and look for insurance, it is a massive disaster. You could spend 2 hours on there and you have no idea what to look for.
Right.
Also, for me, being as what I do for a living, I'm lucky, I'm quite healthy. I'm looking at insurance premiums that were $300, $400 a month and a $10,000 deductible. That's ridiculous. How can someone afford that?
That's right. Matt, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I agree. I liked Trump from the beginning because he was open and upfront with everybody, and he talked to the people, pretty much like you did too. And the people that I know, it was either Donald Trump or you on the other end. Nothing in between. They didn't like any of the other candidates, and that's from a grassroots point of view.
You're talking about your union.
Well, just everybody.
Yeah.
No matter who you talk to, they like Donald Trump and they like Bernie because they talk to the people. And we thought everybody else was just giving us a bunch of hogwash. They were just talking over us.
Mm-hmm. Richard, is there a general consensus here that our trade policies have failed the American worker? No. Well, I just want everybody to know, you're looking at a guy who voted against every one of these trade agreements. What was also clear to me is that the guys who wrote these trade agreements wanted very much to have the opportunity to shut down in Kenosha or in Vermont and move to Mexico and move to China where they could pay people very low wages. You didn't need a PhD in economics to figure that one out.
Yeah.
All right. So I gather that all of you would be sympathetic to a major rewrite of our current trade policies, demanding that corporate America start investing in this country and not just in low-wage countries around the world.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Good. Second question. You got a lot of people, I'm sure in Kenosha, I know in my state of Vermont, who cannot get by on the 10, 11 bucks an hour they're making. Should we raise the minimum wage to a living wage?
No.
All right.
Wait,
No.
there's some.
Okay. Let's hear it. Why don't we go just...
Yeah, I want to hear. If there's dissent, I want to hear.
Yeah, there
were some
dissent.
no's. What do you think?
Okay. I don't know how you can take someone working at McDonald's and pay them $15 an hour and not expect everything to go up around. Obviously, food's going to have to go up. If you want to pay workers for bagging groceries up to $12, okay, your groceries are going to have to go up. Everything is going to have to go up.
I want you to hold that thought because there is dissent on this, although it's a very popular position. I want to bring in some more voters right after this break. Stick around. We'll bring in another panel response on what we just heard. Don't go anywhere. Back in Kenosha, and Jamie just made a point about the minimum wage, which you hear a lot. You hear it from voters, you hear it from folks at think tanks about if you raise the minimum wage to say $15 an hour, you're just going to increase costs, right? And someone's going to be paying for that. I'm curious if any of you folks here, you guys are all Democrats, and John, you're a former union president. What does that argument scan to you?
Well, first of all, one of the things I think people miss about raising the minimum wage, if the minimum wage goes up, everybody's wage goes up, okay, because the floor is raised. And I think people miss that. They say, well, why should people at McDonald's? And I hear that all the time at McDonald's. It's not just about people that work at McDonald's. And people making the minimum wage, by and large, those are not just young people. Those are people who are raising a family, people that need a higher wage.
But if everyone's wages go up, doesn't that even make her argument more salient, which is that if everyone's wages are going up, won't costs explode?
No, I think it goes back to Senator Sanders' argument that income has shifted in this country to the top 1%, away from the rest of the people in this country. If you raise the minimum wage, that brings the income back to the people, takes it away from the 1%, and it gives people purchasing power now that they don't have. And it will help the economy.
I want you to respond to that. You're shaking your head, Matt. What do you make of that?
Well, let's ask everybody up here. I mean, what Reamer is saying, let me just throw it out. She is saying that Trump won a whole lot of votes based on bigotry, trying to turn one group of people against the other. What do you guys think?
No.
Okay, well, just tell us.
He stirred a dialogue. There's not one person in this room, Democrat or Republican or Independent, that would allow anything to happen like that, and even our Congress, that would not be acceptable to anybody. And he just started the dialogue, And the dialogue has changed, and it's gotten better. None of that's ever going to happen. I was not even...
He's proposing legislation, though. He's
proposing
bringing back a national registry. He's proposing removing DAPA and DACA. These are...
In the first place, you can't promote that. That's anti-religion. It's against our Constitution.
I agree.
That's never going to pass. And even if it went to the Supreme Court, I don't care, it would be thrown out. He can propose all he wants. It's got to go through our Congress first. That's another buffer zone we have.
Do other people? This was something that I encountered a lot when I talked to Trump voters, who would say very similar things. They would basically say the things that he says that are the worst things, like the Muslim ban, for instance, that that's just him talking smack, basically, and it's not going to happen. Is that? I'm curious what you three think of that. Is that how you thought of it, or do you think I hope he does that, or?
No, I hope he does not do that. No, I mean, I would never want to see anybody thrown out just because of their beliefs or their I mean, that's awful. No.
I think that a lot of what he says is just unimplementable rhetoric, just to gain attention, and it would never be congressionally approved.
Well, as somebody who was in the Congress, let me not, I'm not quite so sure that you're right. But I think that there's no question to my mind, and I find it interesting that what 3 out of 4 of you are saying is, yeah, he talked about that stuff, but it'll never happen. We don't believe that it will ever happen. Why do you vote for somebody who, in a sense, then is lying?
I'm sitting here and I'm listening to all this, and as she says, who's paying for this? Right? Who's paying for the Medicaid? Who's paying for the Social Security? Who's paying for the Medicare? Who? Thank you. We are. Now, have any of you seen down on streets that it seems as though we have become the silent minority and not the majority?
What do you mean by that?
How much have we been listened to, really?
But who's the we when you say this? You mean
us people.
Who people?
The people who need the Medicare, the people who need the Social Security, who needs the help with the education.
Okay, but now here's good point. Let's see if we can go forward on this. I am assuming that you believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that we should not cut Social Security or Medicare or Medicaid. Is that correct or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe it shouldn't be cut.
Okay. Do you know who is now working very hard to try to do that? Republicans in Congress have a plan under the guise of saving Medicare and saving Social Security, making devastating cuts. That's what the Republicans are now trying to do. The other point that you made, which is I think you made it, or both of you have made it actually, is who's going to pay for this stuff? And that is a very fair point. What all of us should know is that over the last 25 years, there has been a massive transfer of wealth in this country from you to the top 1/10%. In other words, the middle class has shrunk and trillions of dollars have gone to the top 1/10%. Do you think it's inappropriate to ask those people to start paying their fair share of taxes so we can adequately fund Medicaid and making public colleges and universities tuition free? Is that an unfair thing to ask?
I don't think it's an unfair thing to ask. The 1%ers, they got rich off us.
That's right.
So it's time they put back.
Okay. All right. All I'm saying.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back with much more from the crowd. Don't go anywhere.
From what I understand in this election, it got really angry to me. And I don't think it was more about personalities. That's the thing that got to me. And like I said, they never really got into the policies. What they were going to do for the people. They couldn't, I guess, articulate it in a way where a lot of folks understood. What, like I said, they talk about each other. And I wanted some meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
Good. That's what I missed.
Did people feel like, how many people felt like it was too personality driven, the election?
And like I said, I talked to a lot of people and friends, and and some folks, they just didn't care anymore. They didn't care.
Is that because both candidates were beating each other up so badly?
Yeah. And it just got sickening to my stomach every time I turned the TV on. This is what I'm seeing. These are the people that's going to represent me, the average guy.
Did you feel they were symmetrical, though? And did you feel that both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were equally to blame for the tenor of the campaign?
In ways, yes.
Really?
In ways, because like I said, the way Donald talked all the time, it was just like, you let's talk down to people.
Yeah.
That's why I felt. And sometimes, it felt like Hillary didn't connect.
I'm just curious, at a really broad level, how many people are optimistic about this country right now? Raise your hand. Yeah. How many people are pessimistic about this country right now? How do you folks up on the rostrum there, how do you feel about the first month of this new administration? How Donald Trump has been in this transition? Do you feel like it's given you more or less hope?
I think he's shaking things up a little bit, and I kind of like it. Yeah. Things need to be shook up a little bit. Both parties need to be shook up a little bit.
You're agreeing, Richard?
I'm optimistic.
You're optimistic.
I'm usually not optimistic, but this time I am.
What do you mean you're usually not optimistic?
Well, look at the past. Look at what we've had for the last few presidencies. It's just a lot of bogus rhetoric.
Did you feel that way about George W. Bush?
Yes.
You didn't like him?
No.
And you voted for Barack Obama?
Yes.
And you feel disappointed?
Yes.
And now you're hopeful about the future?
Yes.
Senator Sanders, are you hopeful or pessimistic about the future of this country?
Well, I'll tell you something. On a personal note, running around the country as a candidate for president, I became extremely optimistic because all over this country, we had these very giant rallies, and we met with large groups, and we met with small groups, people like people who are here today. And the decency of the American people and the love of country of the American people and the desire to make this country a better place in which to live and raise families really blew me away. It really did. So in that sense, especially among the younger people, I am extremely optimistic about the future of this country. On the other hand, there is some rhetoric coming from Mr. Trump, which, needless to say, disturbs me very, very much. His campaign, which was based on bigotry, bothers me. This cabinet that he's appointing, it seems the major qualification is to have to be a billionaire. And I don't know that is, when you talk about taking on the establishment, you're not really talking about bringing Goldman Sachs into your administration. You're not talking about bringing the head of ExxonMobil into your administration. You're not talking about, attacking a guy named Chuck Jones, who was a head of the local steelworkers in Indianapolis. That's not taking on the establishment. That's bringing the establishment right into your administration. So in that sense, I worry very much.
Yeah, I think he's talking about the do-nothing Congress and the bureaucrats we have in Washington, D.C. that keep ignoring everybody. Not that kind of establishment. Those guys know how to get things done, and we got to give them a chance. They don't, we'll get them out and put somebody else in 4 years, because we're all still going to be here. We're not going anywhere.
See, this is an interesting point, because ultimately, right, what I find most interesting about how this next 4 years develops is that, right? Which is ultimately is the proof in the pudding. Is it that life is better for folks in Kenosha and Wisconsin and across the greater industrial Midwest in the U.S.? Is that going to be the test, ultimately, of the political success of this person that we've just elected President of the United States? I want to thank our audience, our panels, our participants, and, of course, thank you to Senator Bernie Sanders. That does it for us here in Kenosha, Wisconsin. The Rachel Maddow Show starts next.